Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I can see it's 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you that have jumped in with us tonight, welcome. Thank you for coming to tonight's presentation from the Orange County Real Property Online Only Tax Foreclosure Auction for 2020. This bidder webinar that we are going to do with you tonight is designed to cover 100% of the information that you came to learn. We're going to anticipate about 99% of it. We already know what you're going to ask because we've been doing this work for almost 20 years. So we've run these seminars quite a bit, and we've been doing these online webinars now for a few counties that have had auctions. It's important that if you want to follow along and just see the information later on, that you maybe use your camera on your camera phone. And I would suggest that you turn it sideways in that landscape mode like this, and you'll be able to take nice screen captures if you're not able to do that directly on your laptop or desktop. So my name is Frank Peterzak. I'm one of the auctioneers and associate broker with Absolute Auctioneer Realty. Jennifer Gableman, our principal, company principal, president, and lead auctioneer and broker is with us today too. She'll be on the back side working the chat questions. You can ask some questions along the way, but I'm going to suggest that you just be patient. We'll be here about an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes, and I'm sure we're going to cover 99% of what you came to learn tonight. So if you just kind of let us follow along, you won't have to try and type and read at the same time. You can see what we're talking about. Our company is very active on social media today, so if you want to follow us and see what we're up to, you could follow Absolute Auction at different social media venues. You can follow me separately, where I post a lot of pictures of my real estate travel around New York State. And you can always reach us through the internet or, of course, through our email in our system on our main website. So again, if you have questions, you could type them into the chat box. Keep in mind, everyone will see your question, so you don't want to put any personal information out there. But if you have a general question that you think will be of interest to everyone, certainly put it there. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to ask Jen to, maybe give me some questions that came in at the last minute that we didn't quite cover, or somebody logged in late and we need a further explanation. And we'll stay with you, as long as necessary to do that. So the Orange County auction this year will be entirely online. And we're going to talk about the auction process, how these properties became tax foreclosed. We'll talk about all the different steps that you should be doing as a buyer, getting prepared for the auction. And then leading to Thursday, November 12th, where lots will begin closing out, meaning the bidding application that we use, our format, and I'm going to show you what that looks like later in the presentation. The bidding format will mean that lots will begin closing for bidding every couple of minutes or so. However, if you keep bidding, it'll extend the time. So it doesn't just cut off and end. As long as you keep bidding, the bidding will remain open until we have a period of no bidding, and then it will close out. And we'll show you what that looks like later on. So on Thursday, November 12th, the auction will actually be running to its conclusion. However, for those of you that get fully registered and are fully approved and ready to bid on our bidding platform, you're going to be able to start early bidding on November 9th. And that may be of interest to you, might also give you some comfort in testing your bid button and seeing how that works for you. So we have a number of different properties in this auction this year, like we normally do. We have, nice single family homes, large ones, medium and small size single family homes. We have what looks to be multifamily or mixed use type of properties. We actually have apartments within apartment buildings. We don't often have commercial, but we have some of that also in this auction. And of course, we do have land. There are quite a few vacant land parcels. I know one of them has amazing, great frontage right on a big fishing area. We do have in-law apartments. If you're looking for your relatives to go somewhere and not stay too long, we always have something for everybody. So again, the auction will be Thursday, November 12th. There's plenty of information on our website right now for you to look at and begin doing your homework there. But we want to now get into the meat and potatoes of the presentation tonight and start talking about how these properties actually become part of tax foreclosure auction. And we'll talk about the overview of that. We'll give you some idea what the procedures are and the deadlines associated, and then how it leads to the public auction. So one of the first questions that we typically get is, why do we have to pay tax? Well, in a nutshell, it's very simple. It's because it's the law. Real property tax goes to fund county and local governments so they can provide services for us. And you need to pay your property tax. There have been plenty of cases already adjudicated in New York State from taxpayers who became delinquent. That's what we're talking about in these properties, people that are delinquent. And then they claim that they didn't get the tax bill in the mail. They didn't know they had to pay it this year. All these different things have already been challenged in court many times. And the courts have always decided on the side of the tax law in this. If you're a real property owner in the state of New York, you have at least an annual tax bill for land tax, and likely you have a school tax bill. You may have additional village taxes, you may have additional special added taxes, but you are responsible to pay that bill, whether or not you receive the bill in the mail. So there's no excuses that the mail slowed down, you didn't get it, you don't know about it. You have to pay tax every year. For those of you that are really looking to get into this detail, you can Google search Article 11, New York State Real Property Tax Law, Article 11. And once you find the New York State Senate site and you click on that link and you get to this page that we're showing you now, you're at the right spot. And you can look through the law. You're able to download it. It's about 39 pages, I think, thereabouts. And if you really want to read about all the details and, become an armchair attorney about this, you're welcome to do that. It's fun reading. It's better if you have a glass of beer or a good wine in your hand. So there are some key steps for property tax foreclosure. We're going to talk about all of these different things that are outlined here for you and get them into a little bit more detail. So first of all, the tax bills, you have a 2-year to 3-year tax delinquency according to Article 11, which is part of real property law. 2 years for every type of property, every type, meaning vacant land, residential, multifamily, commercial, recreational property, industrial. All of those properties have a minimum 2-year delinquency period before the municipality can foreclose. 3 years for agricultural property. And I think the law contemplated that farming or ag district property may have a challenging year and they needed an extra year. So the minimus amount of time you can be delinquent on your tax. Think about your own home. If you own it here in New York State, is a 2-year non-payment of tax. And then at that point, the county will foreclose using Article 11 and actually take title to the property, and then they must sell it at public auction. So in the 62 counties around New York State, every county is using Article 11 with the exception of Kings County, which is basically New York City, and Nassau County. And we're not going to talk about what they're doing. That's separate. You go Google search that. Everyone else in the state is using some degree or style of Article 11, and more specifically, probably following exactly Article 11. Now, that 2 to 3 year period, we see that being typical of most counties that we work with, and we work with about 25% of the counties in New York State in our work every year. This year, quite a few less because they didn't have the judge's orders signed in time to be able to move forward. And recent communications came down from the chief administrative judge in New York that said October 15th is when real property tax auctions can begin. So unless the county was fully prepared with the judge's order that was already signed granting them title, most of our clients that aren't going this year, they're in that in-between stage, and they may still get a signature before the end of the year, and we'll see about that and get it on our catalog, on our calendar. But right now, we're looking at the calendar that's on our website. The 2 to 3 year window can be extended by local law. We have a couple of counties that do extend that 2-3 to a 3-4. We had one that was going up to 5 years. But increasingly, we're finding that counties are looking to get into this 2-3 year window. So everyone in New York that owns property gets a tax bill, and that comes in the mail. They look like this. They give you a lot of good information on there, and then they tell you in the lower right-hand side what's due and owing. And typically on the lower left side, they also provide a payment structure so that if you cannot pay it in full, they allow you to do a certain amount of installment or late payment with some interest and maybe some fees. If you become that part of that delinquency, and right now let me just focus on a 2-year delinquency. If you start becoming 2 years delinquent, the county will publish, and they must, according to Article 11, they must publish lists of delinquent tax properties in the newspaper, and they have to do that in one of the 2 main or official countywide papers. This is what the listing looks like. If you look in your legal section, somewhere around November-ish, you'll start seeing these things being publicized. When you read these lists, you want to make sure that you find a couple of things. The most important is make sure you're in the right county. And then secondly, make sure you're looking on the left, like I've highlighted for you at 11 o'clock, that it says it's in Article 11, real property tax foreclosure. Once you see that, then you can be confident that what you're learning tonight, and you're starting to understand how this works, that applies then to every Article 11 auction that you see. On the right side, just to zoom in on the list that this newspaper publicized, this happened to be in Orange County. There's a series of numbers and then some names listed. On the left column, leftmost column, 33 is Orange County, 2089 is the county Swiss code, which is Orange County, in this case, Deer Park. And then after the semicolon is the actual tax map number or tax lot number that is being foreclosed on. On the right would be a list of the first named title owner of the property, as you would find in the public record. At this point, when these are notified, you want to make sure that you're not doing too much homework. I look through the lists just to see if there's anything near my home or, near my mom's home, just for interest. But putting a lot of homework in at this point, most of these lists that are publicized are actually get their taxes paid, and you don't get to see them at the tax auction. So the one thing that a county must do is provide a title search for themselves for interested parties. And this is something that, as part of your due diligence, you should also be doing to double check the county work. So what is the county work? First of all, the only liens that are recorded against these properties are the ones that are recorded in the county clerk's office. Fortunately today, this title search can be done online. And we have a link on our website that can take you directly to the Orange County Clerk's website. So you could do deed search. So only the recorded liens are valid. If they're recorded in Goshen in the public record, that's a valid lien. How do you search for these liens? You want to look for the delinquent owner's last name, first name, and any middle initial they may use. You also want to see, based on some of the information that you're finding in the public record, and we're going to show you how to do that in a little bit. There may be a husband and wife listed. There may be a corporation listed. So you're going to want to search for as many of those things as possible to discover recorded liens, and then make note of those. Once you've discovered all the liens that you've come up with, Then you're going to want to verify through the, I said treasurer's office. In Orange County, it's called the finance commissioner's office. You're going to want to verify with them, who did they actually serve notice to? It's very important that all lien holders are notified. If they're notified and have this opportunity to step forward and protect their lien, part of what's called a 90-day notice, they have a final 90 days to protect their lien, then you can be confident that this process has gone through the proper channels and proper steps. The IRS, we mentioned here, they're a lien holder like everyone else. I'll give you more information on the IRS later, but when you're looking for liens and interested parties, we're talking about anybody who has an interest. So maybe a bank that had a mortgage, if it's an improved property, maybe they were involved in an operation at a hospital, but somehow the bill was never paid. The hospital may have had to sue the individual and won a judgment and now filed a judgment against them and any real estate they own. And maybe a roofer came and did a patch on the roof and, for $800 was never paid. The check bounced. And that roofer went to small claims court, won a judgment, filed it in the county deed records, lien and judgment records, and you discover them. And then when you find out that the county notified them, that's great news, because everyone that's notified that had an opportunity to protect their lien but did not, they are erased from you, the buyer, going forward. So you're going to get a quick claim deed, simplest form of title transfer, that is free and clear of any recorded liens. Again, as long as they've been notified. The last sentence we say here is liens that are not notified may still be in effect. So if the county did not notify, let's say, an additional lien that you found, you may be responsible for that lien after the auction. So it's important that you understand what it is you're buying. Now, some people do the title search themselves. Other people decide to hire an abstract company or a title company, or maybe they go through their attorney to have this work done. If you're going to spend a considerable amount of money on improved property, for example, or large vacant tracts of land, you may want to make sure that the title has been notified. All title holders or interested parties have been notified. And just a point about that 90-day notice, the only way interested parties can protect their lien is by coming to pay the tax, so that the taxes are paid and the county won't foreclose. So, going back to the hospital, for example, the hospital that had a judgment, we've never seen a hospital go and pay anyone's taxes. If they're already owed money, why are they going to spend more money? So they're probably just going to write that off as an uncollected debt. Same thing with that roofer, for $800, they're more than likely not going to come and pay anybody's taxes. So same deal. In the instance of banks, banks are either escrowing tax payments, and as long as the mortgage is current, then the bank is paying the taxes. And then on the other side, people pay their own mortgage payment, but then do not escrow that money with the bank, and then they pay the taxes themselves. So the mortgage may not be delinquent, but the taxes are delinquent. And banks are typically not stepping up to pay anybody's taxes, especially if they don't escrow the money, because they know that they have a personal guarantee on a note. Your mortgage note is a personal guarantee of payment. So whether or not the house is still collateral may be immaterial. Now, we're talking about different legal things here. I'm not a lawyer. No one on our team is an attorney. So we're not trying to teach you law, but we're trying to explain what we understand to be the intent of these procedures. So once they go through this entire 90-day notice, and the county takes the paperwork to the judge for review and final judgment, it is presumed that everything that was done is correct, valid, and once the judge signs the order of action, it grants title to the county through that finance commissioner, grants title to all the properties in the auction. So the properties that you're looking at here in Orange County, or in any other county that we're representing as Article 11, the county has title to those properties. So it's at that point that the county will give us a list and tell us to go and do our work. Now, we do not visit any property. We don't post signs. We don't walk around and take photos until the county has title. We don't want to trespass on anyone's property. So it's typically 30 to 40 days before the auction that our field team goes out and posts signs and does photographs. So now that you understand a bit about how the law works, you're going to want to know, where can I find these properties? So you can find them on our website. That's a great way to start. Go to AAR Auctions or NYS Auctions. That's a company that we also own, that where we do specifically tax foreclosure auction. And you could look there for more information. And typically we also have on the website a booklet that you could download. We have, and I just took the Orange County booklet today off the website to get some imagery for this presentation. You know, we have some very brief, basic information. So, you know, we give you a thumbnail picture, we give you a brief idea of what's in the public record, and then it kind of helps you narrow your search. But even so, you know, you may say, wow, there's so many properties, you know, how do I go about doing this? Part of it is what we call buyer due diligence. You need to do some homework. So typically people that wait to the last minute, you know, appear like the young lady on the left. You're pulling your hair out, or it could be overwhelming like the gentleman on the right. But you want to have confidence. You know, you want to be able to sift through the data, look at the information that's available, not only on our website, but it's in the public record, and be confident that when you're bidding at the auction, you're ready to buy that property. So what is part of the due diligence, this buyer homework? We're going to show you now the assessor reports. We'll talk about tax maps. We'll show you where to go look for deeds. We'll talk again a little bit more about liens. And then, of course, it's important that, you know, you consult with the town. If the property's in a village, that's a good place to get information. And then, of course, you may or may not be interested in school system information. We'll talk about how you can look into the schools too. First of all, let's start with the assessor reports. There's a statewide assessment reporting system that many counties allow us to access. This particular one from Orange County, I just grabbed the report off the website. I don't know if this is in the auction this year or not, but I just grabbed this report to let you see what it looks like. And there's a lot of really, really good information here. We already downloaded these, what we call RPS, Real Property System reports. We've already downloaded them and put them on our website so you could look at them. And there's more information to be had. If you zoom in a little bit, you'll notice that on the right side, you're going to want to make sure you're looking at the correct tax identification number. Make sure that matches the property you're looking for. That's the most important part of looking at property. You want to make sure, not by street address, not number, tax map ID number. That's how everything is referenced. And when you talk to local officials, county officials, they're going to ask you for the tax ID number. In this case, you see that it's a single family. It's on about 1.2 acres. There's some assessment information as far as valuation. On the left, what they consider the land. And then on the right, the total for taxation purposes. And then there's full market value. That's a value that is the assessor has placed here based on information of similar properties, closed transactions, and that gets entered into the New York State database. Right below that, let me just point out, deed book, deed page. You're going to want to make note of that so that when you're looking for deeds, you're going to look by book and page number, and it'll take you exactly to where you're going. I didn't waste time, you know, going through every step of this RPS, but you know, there's a lot of good information on the age of the home, how big it is, how many bathrooms, bedrooms, outbuildings, etc. So take a look at that information. Looking at tax maps, these take maybe a little bit of time to learn how to look on a full sheet tax map. But for example, where is 2112? So the 2 is the map section, 1 is the block, and 12 is the actual lot that we're looking for. When you look at a full sheet map, and the number is on the right, that's 2, map section 2. The block, that's kind of confusing. It's a circled number somewhere on the map. And this map, it's easy. There's only 1 block number here. Some maps are cut into pieces where you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, or more block numbers. So you're going to want to first find the block, then look for the actual lot itself. So I have the question mark there trying to find where is lot 12, and there it is. I've kind of highlighted it for you, and you can see that it's close to that intersection of the roads. And there's a whole bunch of extra numbers here that if you zoom in are very informative. There's a road frontage number that's usually listed in feet, 252 feet of road frontage. So this particular parcel in this example, is 2/3 of a football field in length on the roadway. Why is that important to you? Well, you want to get to the property. So you want to make sure that it has road frontage or a way to get to the property. The acreage, 1.2A, it's 1.2 acres. It reaffirms. Smaller parcels, if you look at some of the other ones over to 4 o'clock, just listing the dimensions of the property. So a lot of good information available on a tax map, and that's something that you're going to want to look at. Another part of our website, which it kind of mimics what's also on the county website, if you go to the county website instead, is we show you the exact location of properties on a Google map. If you scroll down to the bottom of each property, you'll see a map with a pin located like this. If you click on the satellite view, it'll give you an aerial view of that property and the environment that it's in. This particular property seems to be heavily wooded. The really cool thing about using this Google Map feature is use the send to your phone feature that I've highlighted there on the left. Just put in your cell phone number and say send to your phone, and you'll get this map and this pin delivered right to your smartphone. And then when you click on it, it opens up and gives you turn-by-turn directions from wherever you're sitting at that moment. It'll also give you an approximate amount of time that it will take for you to get there. It's really a wonderful tool. Everybody can find homes. Homes typically have street addresses, but when you start looking for land, especially out in the countryside, if it's not really big land, this is a great tool to have at your disposal. Talked about deeds. You can do this now online, do deed searches rather than lift these big heavy books up and look at them. You're going to do an online search. So you can do that yourself in the county website and read the deed and look for great information in there. If you're looking at deeds, you're going to want to make sure you're looking at the right parcel. Again, referencing the tax map or tax map parcel information. And then you're going to want to look for something that has a Schedule A. Schedule A has a lot of good information in there. And they're not fun to read because they're written in the language of a surveyor. But it confirms for you the property dimensions and what that boundary would look like. So it's always beginning at a point, and then if you go to the last sentence, and returning to the point or place of beginning. So it creates like a continuous loop. That's what all that language does for you. And then usually at the end, it summarizes. This one containing 44.9 acres, more or less. So you're going to want to make sure that the property you see in one part of the public information being described matches what the deed may say. And that's a good place to look for information. You're also going to want to look back in the deed that we showed you a second ago. You're going to want to look in there if it does not have road frontage, and we're going to show you an example of that a little later on. You're going to want to look for access via a right-of-way or an easement, and we'll talk about what those things are when I get to that in the presentation. So do you do the title search on your own? Do you hire a professional? That's entirely up to you. It's something you can do, or you can pay for that service. Now, a bit on the IRS lanes. The IRS can file a lien on a property against, again, the owner and all the property they own in that county. So the IRS lien is pretty severe in the sense that it lasts for 10 years from the date of filing, and it can even be renewed for 10 more years. The good news is that as long as the IRS was notified like any other lien holder, then they too are wiped away from this process. With a small caveat, the IRS has 180 days from the date of the auction, right, going forward, to buy the property from you for exactly what you paid. That includes your bid, any commission, any closing costs. There's no profit for you. So the IRS lien, does have a longer period of time, but again, the counties are doing a title search to discover the IRS as any other lien holder, and then they want to notify them. How do you find IRS liens? They're searchable in that county clerk database that I talked about earlier. Again, we'll just take a closer look. The IRS lien on the left side, the kind of tax, this is a 1040, so it's telling you it's an income tax lien. The last date to refile is listed, and you can look on the right side. This individual owes $792,000 and change to the IRS. It's a pretty substantial lien. We've seen liens that are this high and more on 1 acre of land with a mobile home on it. And you wonder, like, oh my, what can I do about that? As long as the county is notified, they are wiped away as far as you're concerned going forward. And we actually sold that mobile home to people at the auction, and they had no issue with it because they know that the IRS was notified. Just a side note, if you buy property with an IRS lien, once you take title, you can contact the IRS office in Rochester, New York, and ask them to give you an unconditional lien release. And that letter will release them from the property you acquired, and you may not have to wait 180 days to do something with it. Keep in mind, all property is local, meaning there may be specific town codes or village codes in addition that are going to govern the use or development of some of this property. You're going to want to look into water and sewer, and of course, maybe the schools are of interest to you. So, are you done yet? No, we're not quite done. There's more information to share with you. I hope what we're sharing with you is valuable information. Once you've identified the property that you're interested in, and most people are only interested in maybe 1 or 2 pieces, you're going to want to start looking at values. How do you come up with what is this property worth? So all real estate is local. You're going to want to look for recently closed transactions of similar property. So make sure you're comparing apples to apples. If the property looks to be in disrepair, that's something you might want to get an estimate now of any upgrades or repairs that you're going to have to do to make it usable. So you may want to consider a paid appraiser. You may want to consider hiring a local paid professional like real estate agent to help you get this information. Keep in mind, the real estate community has great data and great information that you can work with them, but you really should consider doing some type of a fee or a flat fee for information. Nobody likes to work for nothing. How can you find some information on your own? Well, there's a great treasure trove of sold information on, say, Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, and others. You also may want to, focus on some of the local newspapers or some of the local land and house magazines and look at what people are asking for prices. But again, make sure that you're considering that asking prices are different than sold and recorded. We always believe in the auction business that the buyer is right. The buyer is paying what the property is worth. So you're going to want to look for sold transactions. Again, it's important that you use like type of property. These are all structures. They're all homes to some degree. But are they really similar? And I would say probably not. They're really not similar. Also in the fact that they're in different locations. So, you're going to want to do that type of homework to find out what the value is to you. When you look on our website, you'll see that we feature tax map cuts, trying to show you, and we highlight the shape of the property and give you an idea what it looks like. And is it touching a road? You know, that's good, but unless you know the actual acreage size, you're not going to really know how big any of these things are. So, you know, here we put in the numbers for you. You know, similar kind of shapes and sizes can be vastly different. So make sure you're paying attention to lot size. Also, if you see things that look like they're in need of repair, make sure that you're getting some estimates ahead of time. At auction, you do all your homework ahead of bidding so that when you go to the auction or attend the auction online, you're confident that if you're the high bidder, you want to buy that property. You're telling everyone you want to own this and you're going to do something with it down the road. So, you know, there are a number of ways to figure out how you can get to reputable contractors to help you with estimates, but certainly ask for references and then make the call. Recently, I did a home roof repair. You know, I totally changed the roof on my home. I asked for a reference of someone they did work for recently, and then I asked them for somebody they did work for a year or more ago. I wanted to see how does their work hold up over time. And, you know, they got glowing reviews. We're happy with our roof. It rained today and no more leak problem. So make sure you ask a professional for advice. But if you're asking a professional, understand that the advice may not be free, and free advice is not always best. If you see property with yellow tape on it, or building violation stickers on the window, or, you know, when we were able to show you property in person, if you ever saw an outlet that looked like that, you know that that's probably a problem. So you're going to want to understand some local things first, and that's why we give you in the catalog and on our website phone numbers to the local townships and villages to start digging in on more information. On the county level, they're great about understanding the tax dollars and money. On the local level is where you're going to find about violations, use, and zoning, etc. So what should you be looking for? First of all, zoning. Zoning overall means how a property can be used. Is it zoned residential? Is it zoned for commercial use? Is it mixed use? There are maps on the county website that you can discover for yourself to see what the zone is for the property. So especially if you're looking at vacant land and you want to develop it, you're going to want to go start looking at zoning. You know, zoning means it benefits the community somehow. There are local laws governing zoning, and in some cases, you may be able to appeal or modify some zoning issues, meaning you're going to appear before the Zoning Board of Appeals if you find that, you know, in a particular township, they require 5 acres to build a house, and you bought a property that's 4.93. You may be able to go before the board and get a variance to build on a smaller lot than what the zone actually says. Building codes talk about safety, the design, the construction, any alteration. We're talking now about safety of buildings that are intended to be occupied. So there's a federal code, the HUD code. There's a New York State building code, and then localities adopt all of them under their wing and may have more stringent local building codes. And you can probably imagine that localities need to be very specific in what their requirements are. For example, when we work way upstate and we're in that snow belt area where they get over 22 feet of snow every winter, you know, their codes for roof systems and structures are going to be a lot more robust than those of us in the downstate region. So I'm sure you can understand that. By the way, my trivia question there, the state of Florida has the strictest building code, and that's because of their incidence of hurricanes. They need to have very robust roofing and wall and glass code compliance. When you start looking at public versus private services, you know, we start talking on the left side. What are municipal services to the property you're looking at? Does it have public water and sewer? By the way, if you have public water and sewer to any of the properties you're looking to buy, you want to check and see if there's an outstanding water or sewer bill. Those are not wiped away by this process. They're never wiped away. So if someone didn't pay the water or sewer bill, you will once you take title. Does they have public gas service? Is there electric at the property, etc.? On the right side, when you're looking at private property, right, is there a well? And you may want to know, how deep is it? How many gallons a minute does the well produce? Is it drinkable water? This is information you're going to want to ask in the town. Maybe in some cases, some of the records that are in the county record. What about the septic field? Does it have gas service? Do you want gas service? These are all things that you're going to start contemplating before you bid to buy. If you're interested in education data for the school system, you want to go to the NYS, New York State, ed.gov website, nysed.gov, and search for school report card or schools report card. And you'll find district by district information, population, demographics, amount of programs, sports, educational, advanced. They have data on, passing rates, college attendance. There's all kinds of wonderful data for you on the NYSED website. It's a great source of information. So get your questions answered before you bid. Bidding means you definitely do want to buy. At auction, we need an immediate down payment. So especially here that we're online, we're no longer able to accept cash or these teller checks. We will take, obviously, credit or debit. That's in order to participate in the auction. And then after auction, you have 30 days or less to close. There are absolutely no contingencies. There are no financing exceptions. There's no inspection after the auction. There's just no excuse for you to not finish paying on time and take title and own the property. When we talk about credit and debit cards, we do accept those on the right side. If they're branded Discover, Visa, or MasterCard, we will take them whether you're using it as a debit card or a credit card. That's your choice. We strongly suggest that you call them before you do anything. You can even call them tonight and tell them that you're going to be participating in an auction on such and such a date, and that if you are the high bidder, you're going to be making an immediate down payment. We have a calculator now embedded in our website. Our office team came up with a great down payment calculator where you can actually figure out what your down payment requirement is based on the county that you're bidding in. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. So if you think you're going to spend, let's say, $50,000 on a property, your credit card down payment in Orange County means $11,100. So you're going to want to let that credit card company know that you're going to be putting $11,100 on your card. And they'll put a note in the computer system so that when we run the card on auction day, it'll go through. The biggest holdup on auction day is if you have not called your card provider and told them what you're doing. You don't buy real estate every day on a credit card. So the computer naturally just says, no, you can't do this. They're looking for a Dunkin' Donuts charge or Subway. So what's your bidding strategy? It's you just throw darts at the wall. You're going to do homework. You're a risk taker. We have a few different ideas for you, but let me give you an example of bidding strategy. And we've been watching these auctions online now for a few weeks. Let me give you an example. If I'm selling a brand new, crisp $100 legal US tender bill, would you give me $80 for it? Well, some of you would raise your hand and say, sure, yeah, at $80, I'm in. Would you wait to get it down for $50? Well, probably a lot of you would do that. But other people may start bidding and, it's not going to go any lower. But do you really expect it to go down as low as $1? Some people are interested in waiting for $1, but let's be clear. If I had a $100 bill and I'm selling it and everyone waits for it to get at $1, don't you think everyone sitting around you or bidding in the auction wants it? So now you have to compete not only with them, but other people, right? With everybody, until it naturally goes back up to its spot. So we're going to tell you that, waiting for the price to get too low doesn't matter. Now here in Orange County, it doesn't really apply. They've established minimum starting bids. So you're going to have to be at least at that amount. But secondly, that bidding delays don't work. Our computer system automatically adds 2 minutes every time you bid. What we've been watching is people waiting for that clock to tick down to like 4 seconds, 3 seconds, and then they bid again. And then the next person who is bidding against them may wait and almost let it go down to 2 seconds. First of all, it's very dangerous. If there's a glitch in your internet service, you may just not have the opportunity to push the button, and then, oh well, too bad. But number two, you're really not controlling anybody by waiting for bidding. If you're intending to bid again, bid again. Let's get to where we're supposed to go. If anything, our experience in the live auction is sometimes you just make the other bidder angry and their ego takes over and they dig in their heels and just say, you're not going to buy it. And they keep bidding. So here's what we really think you should do. You really should get in early, know where you want to go, right? Determine that value. Don't start at your top value, but get involved early and then bid regularly. Don't even be afraid to jump the bid. If you think that, it's way too low and it's going to go a lot more, strength usually scares other people away. So if you're strong and you're bidding strong, there's very good likelihood that you're going to get the property. And keep in mind, if you don't start bidding early, you always pay more. You have to outbid someone else in order to get the property. So get in early and you'll be a happy bidder like this young lady. Oh boy, everybody would like one of these, right? Nice island somewhere where you could go to and just escape from everyone else. There's a challenge though. Islands don't have road frontage, and how you get there is very important. So I hope you're a good swimmer, or you have a decent boat, or maybe a parachute. But some property is actually like an island. We're going to give you an example of a property without road frontage. So on the left, there's a subdivision map there that looks wonderful, right? A lot of property. There's the tax map highlighted for you. Looks like roadways all over the place. On the right side, I've zoomed in a little to show you this corner lot on Ivy and Arbutus. Corner properties usually bring more money. That's wonderful. The problem is, though, when you get in the hot air balloon and fly over the property, this is just woods and forest. There actually is no road frontage here. This property exists, but if I go back to the map, this was a planned subdivision that was created by a developer that never went anywhere. They never did anything with it. So, there's a tax ID number associated with this tax parcel 1. There are taxes that were due, and after a while, they stopped paying and let them go to foreclosure. So keep in mind, not all properties may have road frontage, and that's why we say in our brochure and on our catalog, may not have road frontage. So how do you get to your property? Well, one fortunate thing about New York State is they say that everyone has a right to get to their land. Well, the easiest way to get to your land is have it touch a road, right? So that's easy. But number two, you're going to want to check the deed to learn if you have either a deeded right-of-way, right? Usually listed as an ROW, or an easement. So the right-of-way allows you to make access, right? Actually put in a driveway going over someone else's land to yours. A right-of-way is a great thing when you find that in the deed to property that's sitting in the back somewhere, doesn't have direct road frontage. An easement doesn't allow you to make anything, but it allows you to go over somebody's property. So with an easement, we typically see this like in a lake community, where your property might be on even the other side of the road, but you have lake rights, and you may have an easement in your deed that says you can go over that house over there, near the wall, 10 feet, they give you a walkway area to go down and enjoy the lake. So you're going to want to look for rights of way or easements. And we're also going to suggest that if you don't see that, and you're buying land that may not have road frontage, you want to read the deeds of the property that touches that property. Your access right through either right of way or easement may actually be in somebody else's deed. And somewhere along the line, one of the attorneys didn't put it in the deed properly, and you don't know about it. So, again, homework really helps. So are you ready to go? Let's get you set up. When you visit our website, you're going to want to register, and it's a 3-step process. One, you're going to have to become a member of our website. So whether you go to AAR auctions or NYS auctions, doesn't matter. You're going to be sent to the AAR auction, become a member step. You're going to have to do that. You'll get a username. You'll put in your own password, and that's you. That's good. That's step 1. Number 2, you're going to use that member name and password to actually start registering for the auction. So you'll notice on our website, we have tax auctions, we have equipment auctions, we have personal contents. They all have separate rules and timetables, and you're going to have to register for each of them individually. So there's an internet bidding packet that's available on the website for you to look at. You could look there and see what type of documentation you're going to have to do through electronic signature, right? We're going to all do this entirely contactless. You don't have to leave your house. But once you start to register for this specific Orange County tax auction, our office will send you a live link to those electronic documents that you can then complete and finish signing electronically to get you fully registered. What will you need? Well, you'll need to have some type of proof positive identification. Driver's license is good, passport is good. You want to have that available and ready to go. And then there's some other forms that you will acknowledge as part of the registration. These are the same forms that we did live in person with you at the tax auction. We've just now converted all of them to electronic. So the first one that you're going to want to do is the New York State agency form. We always represent the seller, and these are pre-marked for you in the on the forms. There's a federal requirement for 1 to 4 family homes built before 1978 that we are obligated to let you know what the seller may or may not know about lead paint in the property. In this case, our municipal sellers never do lead paint testing, so they disclaim any knowledge or any reports to share with you. So you initial C there at 9 o'clock that you had access to the booklet we see all the way on the right. There's a link that you can download this booklet, Federal Lead Paint Book, Protecting Your Family from Lead Paint. You'll also waive your right to do any lead paint testing as part of these transactions. Once it's yours and you have a deed and it's your property, sure, you want to do a lead paint test, that's fine. But if you find lead paint, there's no complaint. It's your property. You're going to do whatever's necessary. And you'll acknowledge that form. We also have an ag district disclosure. Some properties are officially ag property, agricultural property. And you're going to say that you did your homework, you know whether or not the property you're buying is in an ag district. And they're noted, those are noticed on the full sheet tax map. Typically it does say ag district, and you can clearly see where that is. New this year is a fair housing notice. Everyone will get notified through a form that you are aware of the housing discrimination disclosure. Everybody's going to have to execute this. So if you're registering as an individual, right, or married spouse or couple or partners that are just individuals, that's pretty simple. And there's one more form for non-married partnership. We'll cover that in just a second. But if you're going to try and register as an LLC or an incorporated entity, you're going to need to show that this entity actually exists. And the way you do that is by showing a filing receipt. So every incorporated entity is born at some point, right? They're filed with a state. This one we're using the New York State form, so you know what it looks like. Your attorney typically has this form in your corporate kit. In there is a bunch of good information. It has that crimping tool, the embossing tool that crimps the official forms that you do. Your attorney typically has that kit and keeps it, or you can ask for it. I've asked my attorney for my kit for companies that I've had over the years. and then I have them at home. If you use something like LegalZoom or another online incorporation service, you're going to get a kit in the mail and you'll have this filing receipt in there. There's also a new form this year in New York State requiring LLCs to disclose who owns the LLC. So if you're a single member LLC, that's easy. You're going to fill in your name, address, and your social security number and show 100% ownership. But if you have partners, I don't care how many you have, they all must be listed that way, fully and percentage. And at the end of the form, it must be 100%. So that's for LLC purchase. If you're buying as a company, you're going to need an EIN number, the Employment Identification Number issued by the IRS. Here's the form and letter that you typically get once your EIN number has been assigned. Again, these are not hard things to get a hold of. They're in your kit, or if you did this yourself, you probably have a downloaded copy. If you're going to bid with or for someone else, non-domestic relationship, you're going to need a limited power of attorney form. And we can't do that contactless with you. You can download the form. We have a free copy on our website, the new long form that New York State recognizes. But you're actually going to have to appear before a public notary and have it notarized, your signatures notarized. You and the individual that is giving you power of attorney. So we have a copy on the website for your use. We have a lot of good forms there. So when you try and buy real estate, you ever feel like this guy? Like everything is stacked against you? Have no fear. At auction, there's a way to level the playing field. And we call that the terms of the auction. The terms of the auctions make all buyer offers equal, right? Because we're only going to determine what is the amount bid. So your offer to buy at auction is always equal to everyone else, right? You don't have any of these left field, right field things that are contingencies. Everybody follows the same terms. The only difference between you and others, who pays the most, right? What's the amount bid? So in Orange County, they've created terms, and we're going to highlight some of these things for you. Now, you really need to read them fully and understand everything in the terms so that you're comfortable buying. And we want to have you become an educated buyer, because that's really our best customer. People that are educated in the process, they don't have complaints later. They know what they were supposed to do, and they do it. So some of the highlights here for you. Everybody has to register, provide that identification like we talked about. All purchasers will pay a buyer's premium. That's a commission on top of your bid amount. For the county auction, it's 11%. Everybody will pay that, and there's a way to compute it, and I'll show you that in a minute. At the end of the process, you're getting a quick claim deed. That's the simplest form of title transfer. And we have an example too to show you. Some properties are agricultural and are designated as such on a tax map. There may be federal or state tax liens. The state tax lien, really not a worry. That doesn't last 10 years, right? They're short and they're extinguished like the other liens. The federal lien may last 10 years. We already talked about that earlier. It's your responsibility to contact local offices for zoning, building, planning questions. Don't bother calling the county level. They're not in charge of what you can do with the property. That's a local issue. Make the phone call, reach out. Start doing it now. You still have a couple of weeks to the auction. Plenty of time to get your answers, your questions answered. If you're buying occupied property, the eviction proceedings are subject to New York State law and the effect at the time. So right this minute during the pandemic, you may not be able to evict people as soon as you take title. You're going to have to Google search the time frame for any executive orders. You may want to have an attorney help you understand that. But if you're contemplating an eviction or need to do an eviction post-auction, you're going to have to follow laws that are in effect at that time. Number 13, I just circled it in the entirety. You will be responsible for certain county town taxes, village taxes, if any, school taxes that have been re-levied. You could either contact the individual municipalities separately, or you want to contact the finance commissioner in Orange County and ask them to give you these numbers. Whatever numbers you're getting, you want to verify then maybe with the township or with the school district to make sure there have been no typographical data entry issues. You want to make sure you understand what may be owing or what may be due. Now here in Orange County, they have the minimum starting bid. So that typically rolls in those numbers to date, but you're going to want to verify and make certain that you don't have any additional fees or costs to you once you take title. Additionally, it's important to mention that going forward after the auction, yes, you'll be responsible for all county, school, town taxes going forward. It's pretty simple. There may be water or sewer rents that are due. We already talked about that. And I mentioned that to you a couple of times. So if there is public water or sewer, make sure that you are aware of what it is you're supposed to be bidding, what you're supposed to be paying once you take title. Here, Orange County discloses that they've taken title under Article 11. That's good to know. No title to personal property, right? This is a real estate auction. So you're not going to be acquiring any cars or buses or tractors or any of those things. And we've seen all kinds of stuff. You may want to reach out to the former owner and tell them come get their stuff. And in some cases, you would be very happy that they actually do come and get their stuff. So this is a real estate auction. The county always reserves the right to reject any bid for any reason whatsoever. So the number one reason why the county may reject your bid, and we've seen this throughout New York State, is that they discover that you are a delinquent taxpayer. You owe Orange County taxes on other property. That's a number one reason to reject your bid. Let's not go there. If you owe them, if you currently owe Orange County taxes, just pay your tax bill, get yourself squared away prior to auction, and you'll be good. If for some reason that there's any sale canceled, or for good reason, the county says, no, we're not going to sell it to you, and they decide they're going to return monies to you, it comes directly from the county. We don't have any money after the auction. Everything goes to the county. So any refunds that are deemed necessary and prudent by the county will come from the county, Orange County. Number 27, there are specific down payment requirements. And it's $1,000 or 20% of what we call the contract price. And again, our calculator will help you figure this out very easily. The final payment must be paid on or before December 11th of this year, 2020. So that is the absolute final and last day for closing. You must make arrangements to make that final payment and close on time. You'll be forfeiting monies if you don't. So there are no excuses here again. You're going to get a quit claim deed. It'll be filed in the Orange County Clerk's office. They'll mail you a copy. Once it's yours, you do what you want with the property. Along the way to closing, you may not assign or transfer your interest to anyone else, right? So the way you register, that's the person or the entity that will close these transactions and take title. In New York State, the law says that it's not yours until the deed has been recorded. So even on some properties at the auction, you may actually pay in full at the auction. You buy a low value property and end up paying in full that day. It's not yours until the deed has been recorded. Again, just a reminder on the IRS, right? They have 180 days from the date of the auction if you discover an IRS lien. How many IRS liens do we see every year? And we're typically selling 2,000 properties at auction every year for counties. A handful, maybe a dozen at most over 14, 15 auctions and 2,000 properties. So the likelihood is very small. At the same time, you want to make sure you are ready, right? So great, you're now all set. You're ready to bid. What are you going to see on auction day? And we're going to encourage you to bid, start bidding on that early the 9th so that you can test your bid button. This is what the bid applet looks like. I grabbed a screenshot when we did the Sullivan County auction recently. You'll see as many as 3 properties being bid at one time. Typically, they're just one at a time, right? Starting with the first lot in the auction and just working our way in ascending order. Occasionally, what happens is that somebody bids at the last minute and it gives it 2 more minutes. And then another lot is supposed to be up for auction, so that one will open also. And occasionally, like I said, we get 3 properties going at once. So it's very easy to see, who the high bidder is, when the bidding is, running down the clock. A nice bright box lightens up when it's getting in the final 30 seconds in case you wait that long. And that's it. It's pretty simple. It's very straightforward. And I think you'll enjoy the bidding platform, and it works very well. After the auction, you're going to get a contract as sale. You're going to make that down payment, right? Remember, Visa, MasterCard, Discover. So call them today, right after the webinar, and get your money set up, ready to go. Here's the down payment calculator I alluded to earlier. It's on our website. There's a link near every property in the catalog on the website, and you just click it. Pick the municipality that you're going to, in this case, Orange County, type in your bid amount, and hit calculate. And on the right side there, it tells you by credit card, $11,100. It's a lot of fun. People really enjoyed this. We've gotten good feedback on showing them what the requirements are. And, we don't record any information here. We don't know who's doing it. Thousands of people have done calculations. So you're going to want to test and see how it works. If you bid on a property of very low value, let's say it's $200, the county requires that you're ready to provide a down payment up to $1,000. So even though the bid amount is $200, right, and the contract price is $222, we're going to also run your credit card that day for some of the closing costs that the state or the county will apply to this property. And those are outlined in the auction terms. They can show you exactly what they are. So, your credit card has to be good for at least up to the $1,000 if you're buying a very low value property. There's a sample one-page contract as sale. That's, again, in the booklet, and you can take a closer look at it. I'll just zoom in and tell you that at the end of the auction, once this contract comes to you for counter execution, it'll have everything figured out that's necessary for closing. And even though, it talks about December 11, 2020, time is of the essence. That's a legal phrase meaning the clock is ticking. So you have to finish paying and close by the close of business. There are some other required forms. You're going to do the TP 584 and the 5217. This is part of the New York State record. So you're able to do that. And you're going to execute those forms too. You'll get a quick claim deed, simplest form of title transfer. We already talked about that. They typically look like this, just a one-page document. They're really simple. The county will file the deed for you and then send you a copy. Additionally, you want to follow any steps that your attorney or a tax professional may advise you. We often get asked, do we need an attorney? Like, should I go hire an attorney to do this? That's up to you. We're not telling you yes or no. We'll just share with you that many people do not hire an attorney because all the paperwork is standard. It's generated by the county. It's filed by the county. You just need to finish paying and you'll get a deed in the mail. If you feel like you want an attorney to help you through the process, that's fine. And you do whatever you need to do, but there will not be any changes to the contract. There's no extensions. There's not any of the typical lawyer things that can happen in a regular transaction. Here, it is this paperwork. This is how all these transactions will occur. And there won't be any challenge to that. There's just nothing to happen there. We've had people, have attorneys call and ask questions, but we just send them the paperwork and that's the end of it. They have to finish paying and close. So that's entirely up to you. Again, the auction's Thursday, November 12th. Lots will begin closing starting at 11 o'clock. So if you're interested in the first few lots, make sure you're at your computer. These do not take long. Typically, the online auction occurs a little faster in some cases than the live auction because 2 or 3 lots may be being sold or bid on at the same time. But test your button on November 9th. You know, if the property is at a very low dollar amount and you feel comfortable with that, go test your bid button. Make sure you are fully set up. You know, on auction day is not the time to determine that you have a technological glitch. That's not the time to try and start registering. Definitely get yourself registered early. Get your credit card set up early. You're not fully registered until you get an email from us telling you you're approved to bid, you're ready to go. So until you get that email, you're not ready to go. And most of the people, the reason why they're not ready to go is their credit card isn't working. So with that said, we're at the end of the presentation. We did 1 hour and 10 minutes, right on time. We like to try and be on time. And I know Jen's been raising, I see people with some raised hands, and I'm going to ask you to just type your question into the chat so that Jen can answer it there. Or I'm going to zoom into the chat myself and see if there's anything that I could actually answer for us. Jenny, anything in particular that I missed that you think I need to address now that we're talking?
I have a question in the Q&A. It's asking about county and school taxes that are listed separately. And it wasn't the case in Sullivan County. We did actually list the school taxes and the town and county taxes separate in Sullivan County, but I believe there weren't any town and county taxes, or there weren't school. One of them, there wasn't any taxes. So we only listed what was required at closing in Sullivan County. I don't believe there's anything due at closing in Orange County.
Right. To be clear, in Sullivan County, I don't think there were any school taxes due because they're typically rolled into the prior year's property tax bill.
Correct.
So there were no school taxes and very few village tax. But here I believe you're definitely saying it the right way, that there are no additional taxes due in Orange. They have the minimum starting bid. We're not sure exactly what that number is. It may be partial tax, maybe all the tax. Again, we don't know. We just get a number. We get a spreadsheet of numbers that we have to put with each lot, and that's what it is. Okay? If you did register for Sullivan County, yes, you need to register separately for Orange County. Every auction is its own auction terms, different dates, different time frame. You need to register. We don't have like an easy pass. We haven't figured that part out yet, and I don't think we're going to be allowed to. Can there still be a bank mortgage on a home that is going for back taxes? So yes, there may be a bank mortgage that is recorded, right, in the public record. But again, as long as the bank was notified, the bank is like any other lien holder that would be wiped away from the deed for you, the buyer. The former owner, the tax delinquent, probably still has to deal with that mortgage, right? That's a promissory note. So in that case, you know, it's not your issue as long as they were notified. Where is the in-law apartment? That actually was a shed that was behind one of the properties that we had in the auction. So I don't know. I always find something to poke fun at. Can't hear you laughing through the computer. So,
Frank, one of the questions I had was, this gentleman plans on using an attorney to do a title search. If there's delays due to title company or attorney office, will I be okay? I believe what everyone needs to understand is the closing date is a solid date. So if you're trying to do a title search before your final payment is due, there is no changing the deadline. It's a 30-day deadline to make your final payment, or you lose your deposit.
yeah, if you intend to do a title search and hire somebody to do that, you're going to want to make that phone call tomorrow and get that underway. Very important. So again, another question on the bank. If there is a mortgage on the property? Is the successful bidder responsible? The answer would be no, they're not responsible as long as the bank was notified. And that's why you need to do your title search or be confident that the county did their title search. You know, we have many people that buy at these auctions that do, you know, very little homework other than maybe what they could do with it. They feel like the county does a great job and, you know, they're perfectly happy to do that. We've sold over 40,000 of these properties in 20 years. The amount of mistakes, if you will, in title search is a very small handful that we hear over time. So yeah, they generally do a great job, but no county, and we're certainly not going to give you a blanket, yeah, it's no problem. We want you to do homework. So that's important.
A couple of questions that I know a few people probably want the answers to. To register for the auction, you go onto the website, you register, you become a member of the website, and then you log in and register for the auction itself. You will be sent an email, and then we will send you DocuSign documents to complete the registration paperwork. We will review that paperwork. If we find any issues, we will let you know. If your paperwork is good to go, we will let you know that you will be approved for bidding I think it's the Tuesday. No, we're going to approve everybody the Monday before the auction. So at 10 a.m. that Monday before this auction, we will make everyone live who is approved to bid. We will not turn your button on before that. If you will get an email though saying you're good to go, you're all set, on this date you will be turned live. So you don't have to keep asking us if you're good to go. We will notify you as we review your bidder packet. When you go to place your bids, there is a video in our resource center and also in the how to bid section. We will be sending you links to remind you to go watch that. You can see how the online auction closes because it's very important to participate and watch it as it's closing live if you're very serious about a property. One of the questions was if the bidding's at 3,000 and I want to put 10,000, so can I enter the 10,000, but my incremental bid would only be 500s or whatever the increments are at that time. So if it starts at 3,000 and you know you want to put in 10,000, you can place your $10,000 bid and it will start you at the 3,000 or the next increment above the 3,000. The system will bid on your behalf until your absentee bid runs out. Basically, until someone outbids your 10,000, you will remain the high bidder and your bid will go up incrementally based off of what the other person is bidding against you. I believe that answered a few questions.
Yep, you did a great job there. Somebody also asking again about school taxes. Is that built into the minimum bid? Again, we're not aware of them being built in or not being built in. So we're not aware that you have any school tax owing. But again, that's what it says in the terms. You may want to make a phone call and just be happy about that. If you're the high bidder, when will you get title to the property? That's up to the county clerk's office, how quickly they're able to file deeds. Because the county is filing the deeds, we're assuming that they're going to be very quickly after you pay. So the sooner you pay, the sooner that you're going to be able to take title. You're not going to have to wait all the way into December to take title. But the sooner you pay, make sure that at the end of the auction, if you're the high bidder, not only complete the post-auction paperwork that you're going to get, but then make final payment arrangements. And as soon as we're able to print the deeds and get them over to the county record, they can begin filing, and it's going to be first come, first served. Those who are paid first are going to get filed first. So that's important.
I can answer a few questions pretty quickly here.
Go ahead.
The absentee bidding, you place an absentee bid the same way you would place a bid. Once you're registered and you're fully approved, you can see the bid box and you'll be able to type your number in and hit submit. It will ask you to confirm your bid. A common error that I see is people trying to use decimal points to put 0.00 and somehow they forget the point and they end up bidding a couple extra $1,000 not more than a couple extra thousand. So do not put a decimal and do not put 0.00. Just type in the dollar amounts that you're looking to bid, and you would enter them just like you would be entering an actual bid. So the one question is, do you have up until Thursday at 11 a.m. to bid? The bidding, we're going to open everybody up on Monday at 10 a.m. and the auction will begin to close at 11 a.m. on Thursday. Begin to close means that is when it turns into a live closing, a live online closing. You click on the button once it pops up on your screen to go to the live ending screen. It makes it easier for you to view the auction on your computer, and it also auto refreshes for you. So you don't have to sit there refreshing the screen on it. You just go to the live portion and you can watch the whole auction as it ends. It will extend as the bidding as there's competitive bidding, it'll continue to extend the auction. So you get an estimated time of when a property might end, but understand that it's very likely that it's going to extend on you. A few people asked this question. The bidder packet has, I believe, 2 or 4 slots to enter credit cards in it. So you can put 2 credit cards on your bidder packet. If we have an issue with your credit card on that day, we're going to call you. You have to be able to provide us another credit card, or we'll have you fill out another form if you have to give us another credit card. If you cannot complete your down payment on the day that we're taking the down payment, you will forfeit the property and we will be going to a backup bidder. So make sure you have your credit cards lined up. Make sure you call your credit card company and tell them that you need to raise your daily limit. The average daily limit is $3,000. You could have $100,000 in the bank, but you may only be allowed to spend $3,000 without calling them and telling them to raise your daily limit. So do that ahead of time. I recommend doing it the morning of, because I find when people do it the day before, it for some reason isn't in the system and they have to call again anyway. So I would call your credit card company or your bank the morning of and tell them to increase your daily limit to whatever you feel you might be spending that day. Your bank might tell you you can't increase your daily limit, but that's not true. Just try to talk to a branch manager or someone higher up, because they definitely can increase your limit. Another question, all of the properties are listed on the website already. So there's no list to come out. The list is already out. It's available at nysauctions.com. You just click into the Orange County auction and the catalog is right there for you. People can still purchase repurchase properties. So the delinquents, Frank, do you happen to know what the cutoff is? I'm not sure what the cutoff is for people to repurchase their properties.
I don't know it offhand, and I think I don't want to say we're past the date because I don't have the date in hand. Yeah,
we might be. I'm just not 100% on that. But properties could still get pulled out for bankruptcy or other issues. So if you're really interested in a property, keep an eye on it, because yes, there is a chance that it could be pulled from the auction, and it could be for a number of reasons. If you're looking to provide another credit card, just shoot an email to our office asking for another credit card form to be sent to you. The email is info, I-N-F-O, @aarauctions.com. For those of you asking about the liens, Frank did cover exactly what happens to bank liens, IRS liens. I would recommend you going back through and watching the presentation again to get an understanding of how they're handled in the Article 11 process.
Yeah, how do people get to re-watch this presentation, Jen?
This is being recorded. We're going to take this recording and put it on the top of the auction. So you'll be able to actually go and click on it. I believe we also email the link as well, so that you have the ability to just click in there, but it will definitely be on the top of the auction listing for anybody to go back and watch.
Good. That's a good thing. It only takes about an hour and 10 minutes, and you could, I think you have a way to fast forward a little bit too. So,
Yes, it'll be like any video you can skip through to where you're interested.
so let me just do a couple of live ones that I'm reading here. Please kindly advise us if there's a chance that the bank wasn't notified before the auction. Will the bidder be responsible for the mortgage? So if there's a recorded lien and the bank was not notified, then it may become your problem. So that's why we suggest that you understand that the county, does a search. You should do a search, and then that information should match. Additional costs to pay with the deposit by credit card versus debit card. I think Jenny's working on that.
I just said that you were answering it live, but I can. A credit card and a debit card are the same thing. We put it through as a credit card, so there is no discount for using it as a debit card. It's still a credit card. It still costs us money to process the credit card, so it will be 11% buyer's premium to use a credit card. A question a little bit ways down about credit cards. We will be charging them as they close. So if they don't somehow automatically get charged to the system, we manually charge them. So if there's a problem with the card, we're gonna immediately call you to tell you to either call the bank or to provide us a different credit card. We don't take credit cards in other people's names. We want them to be in your name, but we will send you a form to make sure that it's filled out so that we have the credit card on file.
A couple of questions that are coming in about, can we recommend either reputable agents to help you do searches or find information? Another question, can you recommend a title lien search company? We're going to recommend that you do a Google search in Orange County. You probably want to use people that are familiar with the local system so they can work quickly, know exactly where to go. There are plenty of realtors in the area to reach out to. Maybe grab somebody that works that area and understands, their local area best. But in terms of title companies, there are hundreds of them, if not thousands across New York State. We don't have a particular vendor list that we recommend because we work all over the state. So, you could probably ask an attorney if you have one locally. You could ask a realtor, you could ask somebody in the banking business. There's a number of ways to get references for title search people.
There's more questions about credit cards. When you fill out your bidder packet, you're going to provide us 2 credit cards on there if you have 2 different credit cards. If you do not have the ability to make payment when we're calling you and we're having you get us payment, you forfeit the property and we go to the backup bidder. So you need to make sure that your down payment is available immediately. If we have to, we'll wait for you to call the bank to get your limit increased, but we're not gonna wait until the next day. We're not gonna wait a few hours. It needs to be dealt with promptly, or we do go right to the backup bidder. Do you use the same credit card to buy? The credit card on that form that you fill out in DocuSign, not the one on the website that you use to create your account. It's the one that you fill out on the DocuSign documents and you put a signature on the page. Those are the credit cards we're going to charge for your down payment.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, we can't stress enough, call them tonight, call them tomorrow, let them know you're buying real estate so they put an entry into the computer. It's very simple to do that. And then you're good to go. You can buy real estate on your credit card and use a down payment, but you need to call them ahead of time. It's not a usual transaction for you.
For building limitations on vacant land, you need to call the local town building department. It's not at the county level, it's usually at the town level. That is how you will find out about that property specific. I believe it's the town, right, Frank? The town? Yeah, it's usually the town building department.
Yes.
For it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Town building or village building department, absolutely. Yep. So you're going to want to ask for, any of these people, a code officer, an assessor, or the real property evaluator. You don't see that name too often. But definitely the code officer or the building inspector or the assessor. Those are the people that you're going to want to run into. There was a question I see here. Do we have any login information for the county website? If you're attempting to look up deeds, we don't have that. That's an account that you'll create through the county clerk's office and sign up yourself and create your own account there. We have nothing to do with that. The assessment information, the RPS forms that we were showing you, if you click on a link there and it's asking for information, just look somewhere else right near where you're trying to do that. There's a button that usually says public access. So you're entering that website for public access, and then it's free and easy to get to all the information. If the house is occupied, does the county notify the previous owner of anything and tell them who the new owner is? To our knowledge, the county does not do any such notification about who's occupying, whether it's a former owner, a delinquent, or whether they're a tenant. No. And we're going to suggest that you tread very carefully regarding the occupied properties, meaning don't just go up and bang on the door and tell them you're here to buy their home at auction. You may want to, approach a neighbor first to see who's there, what they can tell you. There's usually 3 neighbors, maybe 4 neighbors involved, keeping in mind maybe the neighbor's interested, so you may not always get 100% accurate information. But when it comes to occupied property and tax auction, that's something that you're going to do your best drive-by appraisal of value and condition. And typically, you're going to get a better discount because you're not able to get inside and take a look. So, if there is any to be had, that's how that works. Our field team will be going out this week to do some interior photographs and videotaping that will then be posted to the website. So even though we can't have anybody there with us and we can't do the traditional showings that some of you are accustomed to, we've been doing a pretty good job of extra photos and video, and we'll get those posted to the website certainly by mid to end of this coming week, and you'll get a very good indication of what these properties are all about on the inside. In fact, today I ordered a special floodlight to take with me in the properties that don't have electricity, which is most of them, so that I could light the rooms up better and give you a very good idea of what our video looks like. So Sam, let me just address this. The time to bid on a property, starting on the 11/9, right? That's Monday. There's no timer. It's just allowing you to test your bid button, and maybe some people want to competitively bid against others and kind of get things underway. The actual ending of the auction does not occur until November 12th, and they will occur sequentially according to the times that you'll see happening. And it's, there's nothing scary about it. You're not going to miss anything. It's very clear how this all goes on, unless, you're buying the very first property, then yeah, you need to be at your computer at 11 o'clock. But if you're there a few minutes, a little bit around 11 and you're watching, you're going to get an idea of how things move along. And that's how it works. It's pretty simple. From Monday through Wednesday is just, people bidding against each other at will. There's no clock. There's nothing stopping. Linda, I see, had a couple of questions regarding the agency form, the ag district disclosure, lead paint disclosure. All of those forms are going to be bundled into the electronic documentation. So that's pretty simple, and you'll get an email that lets you sign those electronically. I think we've gotten to the end of the questions.
I have 2 questions that came in.
Go ahead.
Any equipment or machinery that may be in commercial property, is that considered personal property?
That's correct. This is a real estate auction, real estate only. Any personal property, any titled property like equipment and whatnot, that is not what you are buying. And, you know, we suggest you figure out a way to try and reach the former owner to come and get their equipment so you don't end up maybe in a legal issue with them later. But clearly there's less valuable merchandise left behind. Some people call it refuse. That may be your responsibility at some point to get rid of. So, you know, anything that seems to have value, you probably should make an attempt to get it back to the rightful owner. And there you may need an attorney to help you figure out how to do that. But no, you're not getting any tractors or bulldozers or anything like that.
And I'd also be cautious with anything that large. There could be liens on it, and you would definitely not want to get involved in those.
No, absolutely not.
When doing a title search, do they say if the lien holder has been notified or not?
So when you're doing your search, you're not going to know. Your search is just going to discover a recorded lien in the county records. So you're going to see, you know, ABC Bank has a mortgage against that property, and that's the lien holder. You're going to find out through the county finance commissioner office, once you contact them, who did they notify? And when they reach back out to you and let you know who they notified, their list of lien holders should match your list of lien holders 100%. And then you sleep well at night knowing that everybody they discovered was notified and everybody you discovered was notified. And therefore, everything's wiped away.
Frank, that's all I had.
Okay, well, you know, before we sign off, just want to let you know you could always reach out to us through email. You could use social media, you know, find us on Twitter or Instagram, send a message to us. Obviously, you can call. The phones are absolutely off the hook every day. So, you know, you may want to just send in a message and let us respond to you in a timely way. But at the end of tonight, you will get you know, this will be finished recording. We'll download it and repackage it for you so you could watch it again if you like. And from here, we'll say thank you to those of you who came and sat with us through the evening. We hope it was informative. We want to congratulate those of you who will become high bidders and successfully own property in Orange County through the tax auction. And of course, you know, we wish everyone good health and wellness. We look forward to seeing everyone again in person as soon as we possibly can. We love meeting you and showing you property and doing auctions in person. But right now, this is the way we have to do it. And the system has worked very well. We've done a few county auctions to date, and the feedback has been really great about it. So feel confident, bid confidently, and we wish everyone good fortune. Thank you for being with us tonight. Good night, everyone.